Graduated, came back to Erie because that's where I was born, and then
Where was Equine though? Like, well, I guess that's further on. You'll get to that, I guess.
where did I go to school?
Yeah.
That was north of Philadelphia in a little town called Doylestown.
And so that's like how many
So
equine educating
there's more than you
facilities are.
would think.
Sure, I mean it's not like it's a lost art, but like like I could tell you like some of the most popular like doctor or like computer or engineering schools are, but I'm like I have no idea where you learn how to like nurture horses. I just
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely schools you can go to for it, but there's a lot of working just, you can do internships, you can do working student positions. There's a lot of ways to learn.
hmm. Yeah, but like, so would you go to your guidance counselor and be like, "Hey, I want to learn about horses"? Or, I mean, what
Um,
what year was this when you were like considering go to equine school? Like, did they have?
so it was like 93.
So you didn't have the internet?
No.
No. Yeah, so
No.
you really needed you really because like right now I could be like how to learn about horses, and like
Just
I could
Google it.
I could Google it. Whereas like in '93 I was like, all right, I was
Um,
born a year later.
yeah.
I don't exactly remember like when
I don't,
when internet was. So you didn't like Google where to learn how to like
no.
nurture horses.
I honestly don't remember how I researched schools. I don't remember. I mean, I remember going to visit a couple of them and really liking that particular one and applying and getting accepted, and off I
And
went.
we're missing a really important puzzle piece here. How you
What?
learn about equine school.
That's a good question. I don't remember how I did the research. I don't remember.
Okay, so what about after equine school? Or would you say it was what was the actual way you're supposed to say it?
Well, it was an agricultural business school,
But like,
but
is it equine or
equine science.
equines or
Equine
equine?
science.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long was that?
4 years.
Wow. So there's a lot to do with
I
horses.
did 3.5. I did it in 3.5 years. I took a semester off and traveled,
Okay,
and then I
so
went back and graduated with my class.
I know that'll get into the Europe thing. So the thing with the equine school, was it also one of those cases where like you do general studies, so you're going to equine school, but you're also learning like physics and like stuff that the whole people always complain when you go to school because like a third to like half of what you actually learn is like translatable to your. So did you
Sure.
go to equine school and then you're also learning chemistry and you're
Yeah,
like
yeah, some of that.
they still do that?
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't 4 years of like literally shoulder to shoulder with horses. It was still a general
It was
school.
really heavy and hands on with the horses, but we had all kinds of other classes, and we had business classes, and we still had psychology, and we still had sciences. And,
All the generals.
yeah, I mean, I went into college with a lot of credits just because I got a lot of credits when I was still in high school with the AP classes and stuff.
Okay.
So a lot of it I didn't have to do, but
Mhm.
it was part of our curriculum. Yeah,
That's why you ended up with the whole 3.5 years. You were
partially. Yeah,
and then
and I just took heavier course loads the first couple of years.
okay, and this was fresh out of high school, right? Okay. And then so you had told me this before that afterwards, so you could finish with all of your classmates, you went to Europe. How did that whole process happen again?
Um, I wasn't planning. I wasn't necessarily planning on doing that, but I heard through my horse network that someone was looking for a groom to go overseas.
Equine school, people
Yeah.
were
Horse network.
they had to pull up their Rolodex and they got off the conversation.
Rolodex.
They got off a
Somebody
conversation.
called on the
Yeah,
landline.
yeah, they got off the Rolodex and we're like, "Hey, Susan from so and so, where was it?
Where was what?
Where was the hookup?"
She lived in New Jersey, which wasn't far from my school.
Okay.
So yeah. Then at that point I realized that I could apply for the job, go for a few months, and then come back and finish because I was so far ahead in my classes and finish with my friends. So I applied for the job and she hired me right away, and it was fast. I had like 2 weeks. I had to get a passport and everything just super fast. It was like I
Oh,
applied
because you
and
weren't
then,
for New Jersey?
well, no, she was from New Jersey,
Okay.
but we went to Sweden.
Okay.
So that's where I spent my time working.
All right. Yeah, that's pretty fast. I mean, if like some people, especially around that age, you could definitely like me, like I could pack up probably pretty quick.
Yeah.
Except for the passport process is actually sometimes lengthy. I think I paid when I got mine. We were going on a trip in July. I think I did the process in June and like went to their postal office and applied for it. And I was like, yeah, do the 2-week processing because just wanted that month buffer, or it would be like 3 weeks or something.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, it takes a while. You should have done it like a long time ago. People were saying, I'm like, it'll be all right. So I just paid the extra like $30 or something.
Yeah, just
so
get it expedited.
they speed. It wasn't the shipping was speed up. It was like the processing was faster. So they would like, they like got through and like put it all in the system and like made it like within a week or something. And then they sent it out, which took like another week or something. So I think I got it in like a week or two. It wasn't anything like mind-blowing, like, oh, it took 3 months for me to get my passport. But so you probably paid extra bucks.
I'm sure it was extra.
Okay, so you were in Sweden with these horses.
Yeah, so went to Sweden. She paid for me. She wanted me to work for 3 months, and while we were there, she decided she wanted to stay longer, and she wanted me to stay longer. But I didn't want to, because then I wanted to get back and finish classes with my friends and graduate with my friends in the spring.
You didn't even have your degree, and you're already taking care of horses.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to, I wanted to stay longer, but I didn't want to stay longer because then I would have had to go back to school
you were stuck with
next fall, and it would have put everything like a year later. Anyway, so I didn't stay. I ended up, she found someone to replace me before.
Hold on. What were you doing in Sweden exactly?
So she had 3 horses that we brought from the States to Sweden.
Okay.
And she was there training with a really well-known trainer. And I was there taking care of the horses and just supporting her in her process with them.
Okay, so what was she doing out there with these horses if she's from New Jersey? Like,
she would go on a regular basis to train with this trainer who was based out of Sweden. So she would take the horses over there, and she would do riding lessons, and the trainer would work with her horses. And I was there mostly just checking on the horses, brushing them, feeding them, making sure they were taken care of, communicating with the barn staff that was there. Okay. I was in charge of them when we were transporting them overseas. Okay. And things like that.
So interesting. So like what was she doing with these trained horses? What was the final product? Were they actually race horses, or they were just for general?
They were competition horses. So she rode dressage, which I know you don't know what it is, but it's like they describe it as ballet on horseback. So
is it like the showy?
Yeah,
side?
They do like intricate movements and patterns with the horse and different.
I've seen enough videos to like vaguely know what that is. Like I've seen where they kind of like trot and like do like different movements and stuff. So I'm not gonna say I've probably ever watched more than a handful of minutes of it, but I know it's a thing. Yeah. So that was what she did basically, huh?
That's what she did.
Okay.
That's what she was there for.
Interesting. Huh. So you wanted to stay, but you also wanted to. Do you regret that decision, like not doing it?
No.
Yeah. I mean, because you're still working with horses. It's just not in Sweden.
Yeah, it's okay. It was good to visit. I don't have any desire to go back or live there.
What was it like living there?
It was cool. We were kind of like in a little tiny community where this big horse farm was a really well-known horse farm in Sweden. So the horse farm is like this huge part of this little bitty community. And there was some housing around, which is where I stayed. I had a bike to ride back and forth from the stable. I didn't have a car or anything. And there was like a little grocery store close enough that I could ride my bike to it. And I had a roommate. I just moved in with somebody I had never met before when I got there.
How'd you get that contact?
She set up everything. The woman I worked for set up all of it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I had the little house. I had
that can be intimidating.
Some friends.
Not even just Europe, but like even like, hey, let's just move to Chicago, and then like nothing, and you just have to try. Or whereas like, oh, hey, this person used to work at my office, and like I could hold their couch until they show me where their best apartments are or whatever. So that's awesome.
I think I was more excited for the adventure than intimidated, but
sure.
Yeah, there's part of that. And
we also got a little bit of help. It wasn't like
for sure.
Yeah, it's not like they didn't have Airbnb back then either. So I mean,
right,
they had hotels though.
Yeah, but she had everything arranged. So like I knew I had a place to stay, and I was getting paid. I had a way to get around, and
cool.
I got along with my roommate really well, and she introduced me to some of her friends, so I had some people to hang out with.
Cool. You definitely had all your bases covered then.
Yeah. Yeah, I stayed in touch with people back home, and
only 3 months?
3 months. Well, 3 months. So she wanted me to stay longer because she ended up staying longer. I told her I didn't want to. She found someone to replace me before our like contracted months were up.
Yeah.
So she ended up telling me that she would pay me for the whole time she had contracted me for, but if I wanted to, I could leave early, go back home early. And I decided instead that I would take the rest of the money and travel around Europe and then go home when I intended to go home.
What was the duration from, hey, I'm going to leave early and like actually going home?
I don't remember exactly. I want to say I had 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
Not bad. And then the money that
bad.
you had left over was enough to cover that with hotels, travel, food, everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
And cool. I had some friends that I had made that were there. One that was an exchange student when I was in high school that I never thought I'd see again, who was one of my really good friends. She lived in Berlin. So I made arrangements to go see her.
You did say something about like, knowing a couple spots. That
yeah.
Like, cool.
So it was nice because then I had people that I knew to go stay with.
How did you have contact with her still?
We wrote letters.
Oh, okay. So she's a pen pal.
Yeah. She lived in Maryland where I went to high school.
Okay.
So we knew each other for...
But you said she was an exchange student.
She was an exchange student at my high school.
But then you turned into a pen pal when she went back?
And then when she moved home, we kept in touch writing letters.
Okay, that's cool. Like, I always liked the concept of a pen pal, and I heard about it, when I was old enough to, like, understand, I don't know, like 5, 6, 7, when I was like, oh, people live away and you just scribble on paper and like it makes their way to them, like that's just the explain like I'm 5, You scribble on paper and they get it instead of like walking and like showing it to somebody, and I'm like, that's cool. But then as I started to get older, like 9, 10, like email was a thing, and then like that kind of slowly phased it out because that's what it is literally you could just email each other.
It is, yeah.
And then text messages definitely completely changed that, and then now technology is just so off the hook that like Discord, like I got friends in Europe and I just talk to them on Discord.
Yeah, I know, it's totally different. I remember I used to write letters a ton.
So
just letters to everybody all the time.
How many other associates did you have in Europe?
I had another friend that I had as a roommate in college, lived in Portugal, so I went to see her.
Nice.
I stayed, I think, almost 2 weeks with her and her family.
Okay.
Those were the
So you definitely saved some money because you live with people and they fed you and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Now, had you had enough money with what she gave you to last that long, or would you have to like really scrape up change in order to...
I think I would have been okay. Like, I don't remember how much money I had at the time, but I think I would have been okay.
Now, what she was charging or paying you at the time for the 3 months, was it like comfortable or was it like just doable for being over there? Like as far as like 3-month contract, like I don't know, the times definitely have changed 15 years and what that money was worth. But did you say like that would have been a good amount of money to live off? You did it year full time?
I honestly don't. I don't really remember. I mean, I was there more for the experience and the adventure than.
But I'm also curious, because it was like the first time you got to like right out of college, and it was like, oh, like I've already done it, I've already made it, whereas like nowadays, oh, I get a degree and then like I get a $15 an hour job and like that's not acceptable. Whereas like, cool, like did you make it into a decent paying job or it was like just enough to live off of? That's all my brain's curious.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it was sufficient for what I was doing. I don't think it would have been something I wanted to do for years and years.
You wouldn't have had a nice car and a big house, but you would have been able to.
Yeah. I would have had a little tiny house with a roommate and a bicycle.
That's still cool though. I'd like the bicycle to work.